Hey everybody, Ron from Back in the Fairway here, and today I'm doing a little bit of an equipment review preview / what's in the bag, kind of everything all in one for you. As most of you know, if you have been following along, I've been doing a lot of ball testing lately. I think the ball is probably the most underrated piece of equipment most people put in their bags, mainly due to the fact that we go out and spend thousands of dollars every time we reboot our bags and things like that on drivers, irons, wedges, putters, all this custom fitting and making sure everything is dialed in perfectly. And then we play who knows what for a ball. And the constant is, that driver you may hit 10 to 12 times around. That set of irons, you're going to hit one or two of those irons, a couple of shots each round, maybe a couple of other irons, a single shot each round, not very often. The wedges, a little more often, the putter, hopefully not so often, but, even if you 3-putt every hole, you're using that, every hole at least. So that's something. But the ball is the one constant in your game. It is always there. It needs to perform to your swing just as much as your irons or your wedges or your putter or your driver or your fairway woods. Anything that's in your bag directly goes to how the ball performs. Now, ball fitting. There is a lot of misinformation out there about golf balls. The first thing is, don't try to do it on a launch monitor unless you're just trying to dial in from like 50 versions down to like 2 or 3. It frustrates me greatly when all I see is people take things on a launch monitor and then they go, that's the one, I want it. When they get it out on a course and they hit it, it doesn't perform the same way, and they start to question it and they start to look at it, and things go wonky and weird from there. Balls are exactly the same. If you play wet courses or courses that have greens that are very soft and slow, you're going to want to pick up a ball that's a little bit more of a distance-based ball, maybe something that flies a little higher with a lesser angle of descent. Something like that. That's why those dimple patterns are different between balls, is that they give you different flighting options. The other thing is, if you're playing a course that's the reverse of that, that's very firm all the time, where the greens don't hold well, you're probably going to want a higher spin ball with a steeper angle of descent. That way, when it comes in, it's going to drop straight down onto the green instead of coming in and floating down and running out a little bit. So where all of this is going is, I made my decision on my tournament ball. I actually had done this last week, and fortunately the company that I chose was able to get me a stock of balls in time for my tournament, which, if you haven't watched, please take a look at that. The Whitehorse Golf Club Roundup. It was an amazing day, I'll just say. But anyway, that had nothing to do with the ball. It was all user error. And like I said, the company that I chose had time to get me the balls that I needed for the tournament round. They played absolutely wonderful. I was actually a little bit shocked at how well they did hold up. So anyway, let me go ahead and just do the reveal here. This year in my bag, I am stocking the Aris Hero. Now, Aris Golf is a small California-based company. The balls are manufactured by plants overseas. Overall, as you know, like I said, I've been doing a lot of testing. Titleist, TaylorMade, Strixon, Callaway, Cut, Encore. I can keep going for a while here, but I've been taking those balls out and hitting them on the course, checking their spin, checking how they feel on the greens, working with multiple putters because I do like to change my putter once in a while. So kind of getting a feel for the whole system. And as I was narrowing down and pretty much nailed the ball I wanted, a glitch happened. I wasn't able to get the ball. And I had a flashback to about 2 years ago when I reviewed the Aris Hero on my blog. So this was before the video days. But the Hero, it performed like an old Balata ball for me. Tons of stick, not a lot of spin ripping back, but a lot of stick on the green. Also, the flight path of it was nice and consistent. It didn't climb too high. It didn't stay too low. It was just perfectly flighted. And it was one of those balls where it was like, if it didn't have this one major flaw, it would have been my ball back then. And the flaw was the cover is softer than a standard urethane cover, at least as far as the big boys go. And as I was going through my process of choosing a ball, I realized that at $22 a dozen or $23 a dozen, the Hero wasn't any more expensive for a sleeve than it was for a couple of Pro V1s or something like that. And I really just reached out to them on Facebook and said, hey, do you guys have stock of the Hero? And can I have them in my hands by Wednesday, Thursday next week? And that Saturday afternoon, Aris messaged me back almost immediately and said, heck yeah, we can. How many do you need? Blah, blah, blah. So I ordered up 10 dozen for the season. Shipping was free on everything over 4 dozen. I did not get charged sales tax either. So that was another $2+ a dozen that I saved. Overall, it was just easy peasy and didn't have any question whatsoever. And once I put the ball in play, I remembered why I loved it so much. With Snowmageddon hitting, we didn't have a whole lot of play in the last month or so. But I was able to take the Hero out and do a little bit of a pre-round test at Whitehorse, just on the practice greens, and they felt just as good as they did back then. When I got them out onto the course itself, except for the user errors, the ball flew absolutely as expected. Yardages were spot on with my longer yardages, which is a big bonus. When you ball test, you're going to see yardages do this to you. You want to find a consistent ball. If you're hitting one that goes up and balloons up in the wind, downhill, you're going to get more distance. Uphill, you're going to get less distance. If you have a nice penetrating flight that's too low, it's going to be not reaching the greens at all on those uphills, and it's going to be flying the greens on the downhills because the ball doesn't apex and come down. So you want that perfect flight ball for what your distance is, and my swing is much quicker than the average one. And my angle of descent is usually much stronger than a lot of people get. For example, I think my 8-iron is coming in at like 58 degrees right now, which, again, I'm playing a slightly lesser lofted iron, or slightly more lofted iron. They have more loft to them, so they're not as strong. There we go. So that can help get the balloon ball up there. The good part is, though, is that the angle of descent is actually it kind of starts off this way and then comes up and then drops down would be 90. So normally you'd go up and then come down at about 45. So again, up and down at about a 45. The problem is that produces a beautiful little curve flight, but if you're trying to flight the ball, you don't really have a whole lot you can do with it. You just get the one little bump. For me, especially on the lower irons, I prefer to launch the ball straight out and then come down at a much steeper angle. And generally that 50 to 60 degree mark is where I'm shooting for 7-iron and under. I'm pretty well hitting that with the Hero. The Hero is a great ball. And there's the little sight line for it. The logo is a little bit big, but it is also very identifiable. And also there's not a lot of people playing this ball. So I didn't have any issues with having to mark them or be creative with them. The one thing I will say is when I was testing some of the others, they have a black line here with white writing. That would be a welcome addition to this ball. This line is good, but I found myself really kind of missing that darker alignment stripe. And I'm kind of mixed on it. I mean, it's not that big a deal to me. Most of the time I'm putting logo up just so I can see the number, the logo, and I draw my line that way. But I did find myself using that line on other balls and finding myself really, really liking that. So, yeah. Anyway, as I continued to play with it, I realized more and more why I remembered I liked this ball so much and why it performed so well for me in most of my testing way back in the day. The big part for me was their responsiveness on customer service, though. They were bending over backwards to make sure I had what I needed in time for the tournament. It was a Saturday afternoon. They processed the order. They got it out the door on Saturday, and I had the balls on Tuesday. Now, that said, there is one major flaw with the Hero, and as I was adjusting or playing with the idea of doing this, I realized it didn't matter at all to me about this flaw. But what it is that this cover is extremely soft. So much so that even one good wedge shot can actually scuff and cut the cover. I was getting between 4 and 6 holes out of a ball before I had any issues with it. So for me and a tournament ball, I am more than fine with that. For a $1.66 a ball, I'm roughly looking at a 2-to-1 ratio over like a Pro V or a Bridgestone BRS or those guys, the $40 to $50 a dozen guys. It's a 2-to-1 ratio minimum. Might even push it to 3-to-1 if I'm paying local taxes and things on those. So definitely longevity is not in the Hero's favor here. It is one of those that will wear very, very quickly. I was going to try to do a wedge test on them. But again, somehow we have snow out here this morning and I am not able to do that. But anyway, I will do some durability tests and post those on Twitter and Instagram and show the ball after a couple of hits just to show you what I mean. But we've all seen it where you hit it and it shaves it and it gets that little fuzzy stuff on it that's actually part of the cover. That's what you're going to see on this ball almost immediately if you're a higher swing speed player. For a tournament ball, for me, that wasn't a big deal because I'm looking for high performance here. And honestly, I get better spin, better angles, and better playability out of this, even with a scuff mark or two on it. But, it is what it is. The durability is a factor, but the playability more than makes up for it, and the price makes it even better. So, for about $23 a dozen, I have a beautiful tournament ball. I have a couple of really cool things for you down below. If you hit the link down below to go visit Aris Golf, there is a coupon code good for 5% off your purchase. And they also offer free shipping on any purchase of over 4 dozen balls at a time. So if you are in the market for a ball, I would highly suggest popping over there and checking out their trial sleeves. They have 3 different versions. They have the Scout, the Captain, and the Hero. The Scout is their distance ball. The Captain is their kind of in-between ball. And the Hero is their tour ball. So If you are in the market for a new ball and are struggling on finding the perfect one for you, definitely head over to Aris Golf and check them out. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I'll try to remember to put links down below to all those. And on that note, yes, there it is, the Aris Hero, the ball for the season for 2019. And I thank you for watching this, and we'll see you in the next video.